we've cut our legs, we are ready to go ahead and lay out the mortises on the legs. We're going to pencil them in so we know where we're going to cut the mortises on the router table and where we're going to cut them on the mortising machine. To go ahead and lay these out, you are going to need a set of plans. In particular, we are going to need the leg 1 and leg 2 plans or part drawings off of the plans. Okay, so I've got my leg 1 and I've got leg 2 here. These have all the dimensions that we're going to need to go ahead and put our pencil marks and lay out where these mortises are going to go. Alright, so you're probably sitting here wondering what in the heck is a mortise. And a mortise, in a nutshell, is a squared off hole or a rectangular hole. That rectangular hole is going to be cut either on the router table or it's going to be cut using a mortising machine. That mortise is going to fit a tenon, okay, which is a little stub cut on the end of your rails. We're going to make the tenon fit the mortise, right? So when we put these together, we can start assembling our table. Now, in order for us to get the mortises the right size and in the right location, we have to lay these out in pencil on our legs. So before you do that, it is now time for you to kind of take a look at your stock. Right? When we lay out these legs, okay, the mortises are going to be on the inside surfaces. We need to start looking at our legs and determining which surfaces on the legs that we like. If we like a particular pattern or grain pattern, or there's something that we're really interested in seeing, we want to make sure that that is on the exterior surface of the leg. If, for example, there's something like a knot that we don't want to see, all right, in our board. So if I've got a knot like here, and I don't want to see that, I'm going to make sure that I put that on the inside of my leg. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to arrange these in a second here and kind of pick the orientation that I like for each leg. Like that. It looks nice. I might go like that. Once I have that, I'm going to put these all together and I'm going to label them. Now when you label, you're going to label the opposite corners the same. So up front here, I'm going to go L1, and then on the opposite corner, I'm going to also label L1. Over here, this will be L2, okay, and L2 there. So I've now labeled leg 1 and leg 2. If we don't label these and we get them mixed up, we're not going to be able to get our table put together because our mortises will not align in a square or rectangular fashion. You'll have something that will fit together like this. Okay, and that doesn't necessarily make a table. So we want to make sure we spend a couple of minutes, pick good surfaces, and get labels on your legs so that we know which leg is which when we go to lay them out. Alright, it is time to go ahead and lay out and draw up the mortises on our legs. I've got them separated. I've got leg 1 here, okay, and I've got leg 2 here. We're going to start with leg 1, and I'm going to orient the leg according to the plans. Now on the plans, the right hand side is the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the side I labeled the top of my part, okay, and I'm going to lay these down so that the top is to the right. You're going to need either a combination square or a tri-square to go ahead and do this because we're going to transfer all of these different numbers on our plans onto our board. I'm going to start with just one leg right now, and I'm going to work my way down from the top to locate the top mortise, and I'm going to work my way up from the bottom to locate my lower mortises. So working from the right hand side or the top, I am going to lay out the start and stop of my mortise from the top moving downward. Those are the green highlighted dimensions. So from the top, my first dimension is 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to line my ruler up with the top here, mark 3/8. And then my next number is 2 3/4 from the mark that I just made. So I can move my ruler and mark 1, 2 3/4. So I've got 2 little tick marks here that represent the top of the mortise and the bottom of that mortise. I'm going to repeat the process on the bottom here, and I'm going to use the pink numbers to go ahead and put those marks in place. So the bottom of my mortise is at 3 7/8, and then my next line is 2 3/4 from the mark I just made. So I'll move my ruler, 1, 2 3/4, and I'll put another tick mark. Now that I've got these tick marks in place, okay, to locate the start and stop of each of these mortises, I'm going to either use a combination square or a tri-square to go ahead and transfer or extend those lines all the way across my board. So I'm going to take my square, I'm going to put one end tight to the board here, and I'm going to slide it over until I line up with my mark, and I'm going to transfer that line or extend that line. I'm going to do the same thing at the top. There we go. So now I've located the top and bottom of each of these mortises. Now rather than measure these numbers again on this piece, all I'm going to do, because they're exactly the same leg, I'm going to line the top up, I'm going to take my square, and I'm going to extend these lines onto my other leg. If you're going to do this, it's really important to make sure that the top is flush, and when we go to do the bottom one, make sure the bottom edge of your board is flush. So line the square up, bring that line across onto your new piece, and we have successfully laid out the start and stops, or the top and bottoms, of the mortises on leg 1. I'm going to go ahead and take these legs and roll them towards me, 1 rotation, and now I'm going to lay out the start and stop marks on the other face of my board. So again, from the top down, it's the green numbers, okay, which is 3/8, and then 2 3/4 from the top, and from the bottom, it's 3 7/8 up, and then from that mark, it is 1 3/4 this time. Okay, so again, I'm going to use a square, extend those lines across the length or the width of my piece. Okay, I'm going to take and transfer them onto my next leg. So I'm going to put the 2 together, line up the end, and bring those lines over. Line up the bottom, bring the lines across. So that takes care of locating the mortises up and down. Now we have to locate them in and out on the mortises, or on the legs, excuse me. Those are going to be our purple numbers and our orange numbers that are highlighted on the plans. So what we're going to start with, okay, is with the legs in this orientation. Okay, we're looking at the top view here. I am going to lay out the mortises from the edge closest to me here. That number is 3/8 of an inch. So quick way to do that, or one way to do that, is to just measure 3/8 of an inch, okay, at one of our existing lines here, and then come up to the next one and measure 3/8 of an inch, and use a ruler or a straight edge to connect the dots there. Another way to do that, and why combination squares are really handy, is I can loosen this up. I can move the square head so that only 3/8 of an inch is exposed here. If I put that tight to my board, now I can just put a little mark and a little mark, and I know that those are 3/8 of an inch. And then all I have to do is connect the dots here. Okay, so I'll do the same thing on this leg. Okay, remember at this point it's the side closest to you. 3/8, 3/8, 3/8, and 3/8. Okay, I will connect the dots. All right, now my next step is to locate the opposite side of this mortise. So from this line that we just drew, how far across or how wide is our mortise? And that is this orange number here, 3/8 of an inch. So I can, again, from the line I just created, right, measure 3/8 and put a mark. Or if I want to do my math, I know that this line, from the end of my board or edge of my board, this line is 3/8, and then my next line is 3/8. 3/8 plus 3/8 is 3/4. So I can take and set my square to 3/4 of an inch and put a tick mark, put a tick mark, tick mark, right, and then connect the dots. Okay, now I'm going to repeat that on the second leg here. Again, if you want to measure from the line we already drew, you are more than welcome to do that. I find that setting up the combination square tends to be a little bit faster. Okay, so now we have now laid out, so if I put this next to my top view, I should see little boxes that are in the same place that the little boxes are on my plans. So now I need to lay out the other side, so I'm going to roll these legs away from me now so that my other marks are face up, and I'm going to use the number on this front view. Again, it's the purple number, okay, from this corner, and then it's the orange number from the line we're going to create here. Now according to this, the purple number is 9/16. So I'm just going to go ahead and set my square up to 9/16, and I'm going to mark from the side that I just marked up on, or mark my other mortises on. I'm going to mark that 9/16 point. Okay, again, use your straight edge to go ahead and transfer those lines all the way across. Now, I know these mortises are centered. 9/16 plus 3/8, okay, leaves 9/16 on the other side of this board. So I don't have to change this. What I'm going to do now is, instead of going from this side, I can come from this side. And if I put a mark here and here, and I measure in between these two lines, okay, that is exactly 3/8 of an inch. So I don't have to really change anything on this particular setup. So I'm going to go from this side, and then I'm going to turn around and go from this side. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and repeat on this leg, 9/16, 9/16, 9/16, 9/16. Okay, from the other side, we'll do the same exact thing. Okay, we're going to just do little tick marks so that we can line our straight edge up and connect the dots. Okay, so what I've just done now on these legs is I have laid out where my mortises are going to go. I know that I need to cut a mortise, just like this one, in that location on my leg 1. The layout is going to be exactly the same thing on leg 2. Okay, the only difference is that when we do leg 2, okay, we're going to lay out our top view. That's going to have the shorter mortise on the bottom as opposed to the longer one. So if you notice here, I've got long mortise on leg 1. When I first lay out leg 2, it's going to be a long mortise, and then the little shorter mortise up here. When I have that done, and I've laid these out, I'm going to turn these this way, and then I'm going to lay out according to the top view. But the process is exactly the same. When you're done, okay, I'm going to show you what that's going to look like here in a second. So I'm going to lay these out real quick, and then we will take a look to make sure that everything is laid out exactly the way we want it to be. Alright, I'm going to check now to make sure that I've cut these, or not cut these, laid these out in the exact right location. So I'm going to orient these legs the way I did previously, and I'm going to put L1 next to an L2. And I'm going to put an L2 over here. And L1 right here. So I've got L1's opposite and L2's opposite. If I take these and open them up now, the mortises that I've laid out should mirror or face each other opposite. You'll notice now I have a short mortise that faces a short mortise on the bottom and 2 long mortises that match each other. If I open them the other way, I will have 4 long mortises all facing one another as well. So that's a quick way to check. Again, your L's, your legs should be opposite corners of each other. And if you open it like a book, you should see the same kind of mortises all laid out.